Number 9. The building material. Your body is physically assembled from something you eat every single day, and most people have no real grasp of how far that process reaches. Protein does not exist inside you the way it enters your mouth. The moment you swallow meat, eggs, or beans, your digestive system tears the entire structure apart into individual amino acids. 20 different types exist in total. 9 of them cannot be produced inside your body under any circumstances. You have to bring them in through food, or construction stops completely. Once absorbed, those amino acids get reassembled on demand into whatever your system requires at that exact moment. A torn muscle fiber after a hard training session, an enzyme that breaks down your next meal, an antibody that hunts a virus, or insulin that pulls excess sugar out of your bloodstream. Every single one is built from the same raw material. Here is something that surprises most people. Your body burns between 20% and 30% of every protein calorie just to process and digest it before it does anything useful for you. That is double or even triple the energy cost of breaking down carbohydrates or fat. Protein also shuts down hunger more powerfully than any other macronutrient, which is exactly why every well-designed study on high-protein diets keeps landing on the same result. Better appetite control, better body composition, better outcomes. 1 gram of protein delivers 4 calories. The standard recommendation sits at 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight for people who barely move. But research focused specifically on people who actually use their muscles points to 1.6 to 2. 2 grams per kilogram is far more appropriate for real-world function and recovery. Fall short of that, and the damage is not subtle or slow. Muscle mass wastes away. Your immune response weakens. Wounds take longer to close. Hair thins, nails crack, and the hormones that regulate your entire endocrine system begin to collapse in sequence. Every structural system inside your body, muscle, immune defense, hormonal balance, tissue repair, organ function, is built from the same raw material, and most people are quietly under-eating it every single day without understanding what it is costing them. Number 8. The fuel system. Carbohydrates are the energy source your body will always choose first, without exception. Bread, rice, fruit, oats, vegetables, all of it breaks down into glucose. That glucose floods your bloodstream and gets delivered to every cell that needs power. Your brain alone consumes roughly 120 grams of glucose daily. That is 60% of your total glucose consumption while you sit completely still. Your muscles and liver also store glucose in a form called glycogen, which acts as a short-term fuel reserve for high-intensity effort. When those reserves run dry and carbs are not coming in, your body starts breaking down muscle protein to generate glucose instead, which is not the outcome most people are going for. When people slash carbs too fast, the brain fog and exhaustion that follow are not in their heads. The central processor running your entire nervous system is genuinely running out of fuel. Carbohydrates split into 2 categories based on their molecular structure. Simple carbohydrates are 1 or 2 sugar molecules: table sugar, fruit juice, candy, white bread. They hit your bloodstream almost instantly, spike your blood sugar hard, then drop it just as fast, leaving you tired, irritable, and craving more. Complex carbohydrates are long molecular chains that take far more time to break apart. Whole grains, sweet potatoes, oats, legumes. They release energy steadily and hold your blood sugar stable for hours at a stretch. 1 gram of carbohydrate delivers 4 calories, identical to protein. Carbs have been blamed for almost every modern health problem for over 2 decades, but the macronutrient itself has never been the real problem. The type and the quantity are where the damage actually happens. Whole food carbohydrate sources arrive with fiber, vitamins, and minerals still intact. They behave entirely differently inside your body compared to processed food that has been stripped of everything except sugar. Fiber alone transforms the equation. It slows digestion, feeds the beneficial bacteria living in your gut, and prevents blood sugar from spiking dangerously after a meal. The biological difference between a bowl of oats and a can of soda is not about preference. It is 2 completely different events taking place inside your body at the cellular level. The problem has never been carbohydrates. It is what industrial food processing does to them long before they reach your plate, and how far removed from their original form they arrive by the time you eat them. Number 7. The voltage regulator. Sodium has been treated as a poison for decades, but without it, your body would begin shutting down in under an hour. It is the primary electrolyte outside your cells. It controls how much water your tissues hold, how high your blood pressure runs, and whether your nerves and muscles can fire electrical signals at all. Every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, every muscle contraction depends on sodium being exactly where it needs to be at exactly the right concentration. Your kidneys adjust sodium retention and excretion constantly to hold blood sodium inside a razor-thin range. The official daily guideline is 300 milligrams, roughly 1 teaspoon of table salt. Most people in developed countries consume over 3,400 milligrams daily, often significantly more. Processed foods, restaurant meals, and packaged snacks are the primary delivery system for that excess. Most of it is invisible to the person consuming it. A single restaurant meal can exceed your entire recommended daily intake without tasting noticeably salty at all. If you want to bring your intake down, putting away the salt shaker barely moves the needle. Cutting back on ultra-processed food is where the real difference happens, because that is where the overwhelming majority of excess sodium comes from. When sodium runs too high, it pulls additional water into your bloodstream. More water means more blood volume, and more blood volume means greater pressure against your arterial walls. Chronically elevated blood pressure is one of the leading risk factors for heart disease, stroke, and kidney failure. But go too far in the opposite direction, and the danger is just as real. Hyponatremia, critically low blood sodium, causes confusion, severe muscle cramps, seizures, and in serious cases, death. Endurance athletes and anyone who sweats heavily are particularly vulnerable, especially when they replace lost fluid with plain water and nothing else. The goal is not eliminating sodium. It is understanding that both extremes carry serious risk. Your nervous system and cardiovascular system both depend on sodium to function correctly. The target is calibration, enough sodium to keep your cells firing and your heart beating in rhythm without flooding your bloodstream to a point where your arteries pay the price over years of sustained pressure. Number 6. The membrane builder. Fat contains 9 calories per gram, more than double the energy density of carbohydrates or protein. But energy storage is nowhere near its most important function. Every single cell membrane in your body is constructed from fat molecules. Without adequate fat intake, your cells cannot hold their structural shape. They leak, they degrade, and they stop functioning as intended. Fat is also the only delivery vehicle for 4 vitamins that your body cannot absorb without it. Without fat present in your meal, vitamins A, D, E, and K pass through your digestive system and get flushed out unused. You can eat a meal stacked with those nutrients and absorb almost nothing if there is no fat alongside them. Beyond that, fat is the raw material for every steroid hormone your body produces. Testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, all synthesized from cholesterol, which is a type of fat. Fat insulates your organs from physical impact, helps maintain your core body temperature, and protects your brain, which is nearly 60% fat by dry weight. The type of fat you consume determines whether it supports you or gradually works against you. Unsaturated fats from olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish reduce inflammation and support cardiovascular health. Omega-3 fatty acids found in salmon, mackerel, sardines, walnuts, and flax seeds are especially important for brain function and controlling chronic inflammation. Saturated fats from butter, cheese, red meat, and coconut oil raise LDL cholesterol, though the clinical risk varies between individuals depending heavily on overall diet. Trans fats, artificially created through a process called hydrogenation and hidden in many processed foods, margarine, and commercial baked goods, are in a completely different category. They raise LDL, lower HDL, and significantly increase heart disease risk. There is no safe amount. 9 calories per gram makes fat the most energy-dense macronutrient that exists, but it is also the foundation of every cell wall, every hormone, and every signal your brain sends through your body. Cutting it out is not health optimization. It is dismantling your own structural support. Number 5. The indigestible cleaner. Fiber is technically a carbohydrate, but your body cannot break it down. That is not a flaw in the design. That is exactly the point. Fiber exists in 2 forms, and both do things inside you that nothing else can replicate. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and forms a thick gel inside your digestive tract. It is found in oats, beans, lentils, apples, citrus fruits, barley, and flax seeds. That gel slows how quickly food moves through your stomach and small intestine, blunts the blood sugar spike after meals, and binds to cholesterol particles in your gut, removing them from your body before they can be absorbed into your bloodstream. Insoluble fiber does not dissolve. It adds physical bulk to your stool and speeds transit through your large intestine. Found in whole wheat, brown rice, nuts, seeds, and vegetable skins, it prevents constipation and limits how long potential carcinogens stay in contact with your intestinal lining. But the most underestimated role fiber plays is the one that happens deepest in your gut, and it is the one most people never hear about. Fiber is the primary food source for the beneficial bacteria living in your large intestine. When those bacteria ferment fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, and acetate. Butyrate is the main fuel for the cells lining your colon. It reduces inflammation, reinforces the gut barrier, and appears to offer meaningful protection against colorectal cancer. The daily recommendation is at least 25 grams for women and 38 grams for men. Most people in Western countries are averaging around 15 grams. That gap is not a minor shortfall. Chronic low fiber intake is directly connected to higher rates of constipation, diverticular disease, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal cancer. The substance your body cannot even digest, the part food processing strips away first, turns out to be one of the most protective compounds in your entire diet. Most people are not getting enough of it, and they will not know what it cost them until the damage is already there. Number 4. The voltage network. Sodium draws the most attention, but 3 other electrolytes are just as critical, and all of them need to stay in range for the system to function correctly. Potassium is the primary electrolyte inside your cells, and it works in direct opposition to sodium. Sodium pulls water toward your cells. Potassium pushes it out. Together, they manage fluid balance across every membrane in your body and keep your blood pressure within safe limits. Potassium also governs your heart rhythm directly. Too little of it can trigger dangerous cardiac arrhythmias, muscle weakness, painful cramps, and severe fatigue. The recommended daily intake is around 2,600 milligrams for women and 3,400 milligrams for men. Most people fall well short of both. The strongest food sources are bananas, potatoes, sweet potatoes, spinach, avocados, beans, and yogurt. Magnesium participates in more than 300 enzymatic reactions inside your body. Energy production, protein synthesis, muscle contraction, nerve signaling, blood sugar regulation, and blood pressure control all depend on it. Around 60% of your body's total magnesium is held inside your bones. Deficiency is common and tends to show up as persistent muscle cramps, difficulty sleeping, anxiety, recurring headaches, and an irregular heartbeat. The best dietary sources include dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, dark chocolate, avocados, and whole grains. Calcium is the most abundant mineral in the human body. 99% of it is stored in your bones and teeth. The remaining 1% circulates through your blood and enables muscle contraction, nerve signaling, blood clotting, and a consistent heartbeat. When blood calcium drops too low, your body draws it directly from your bones to protect vital functions. Over time, abscess leads to osteoporosis and a significantly elevated risk of fractures. The recommended daily intake is approximately 1,000 milligrams for most adults. Top sources include dairy products, fortified plant milks, sardines with bones, tofu, kale, and broccoli. These three electrolytes do not function independently. They operate as a synchronized network. If even one of them drops too far out of range, the others are affected and the entire system begins to deteriorate. You cannot optimize one while ignoring the rest. Number 3. The universal solvent. Water makes up roughly 60% of your total body weight, and it is involved in every single biological process that keeps you alive. It transports nutrients into your cells and carries waste products to your kidneys for disposal. It lubricates your joints so they move without friction. It cushions your brain and spinal cord from physical impact. It regulates your core body temperature through sweat. Every chemical reaction that occurs inside your body takes place in a water-based environment. Without water, the chemistry simply stops. When you are even mildly underhydrated, your blood thickens slightly. Your heart has to work harder to pump it, and the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to your muscles and brain slows down. That is why dehydration hits your energy and mental sharpness long before it hits your thirst signal. Even mild dehydration, a fluid loss of just 1% to 2% of your total body weight, measurably impairs cognitive performance, reduces physical output, triggers headaches, and accelerates fatigue. That is a margin far smaller than most people would ever consider dangerous. Your kidneys filter approximately 180 liters of blood every single day. They depend on adequate fluid intake to properly clear waste and maintain electrolyte balance throughout your system. Chronic low water intake forces your kidneys to operate under constant strain, and over time that raises the risk of kidney stones and urinary tract infections considerably. General intake recommendations sit around 2.7 liters per day for women and 3.7 liters per day for men, drawn from all sources including food. Those numbers climb significantly with exercise, heat, illness, and altitude. Coffee and tea count toward your intake. The idea that caffeine dehydrates you enough to cancel out the fluid has been largely debunked in regular consumers. Most people wait until thirst arrives before they drink anything. By the time thirst registers, you are typically already in mild dehydration. The signal is delayed, not real-time. Consistent intake distributed throughout the day is far more effective than catching up after the deficit has already built. Your body is more than half water. The gap between optimal function and measurable impairment is less than 2% of your total body weight. Most people treat water as an afterthought. Their energy, focus, and recovery reflect that decision every single day. Number 2. The toxin priority. Alcohol is processed differently from every other substance you consume, and the reason is direct. Your body identifies it as a poison and responds accordingly. When you drink, alcohol absorbs through your stomach lining and small intestine and travels directly to your liver. An enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase converts it into a compound called acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is genuinely toxic. It damages DNA, and the World Health Organization classifies it as a Group 1 carcinogen, meaning the evidence that it causes cancer in humans is not in dispute. Your liver then converts acetaldehyde into acetate, which breaks down into carbon dioxide and water and gets cleared from the body. That conversion takes time, and while it is happening, everything else waits. Fat burning stops and protein synthesis slows. Nutrient absorption gets disrupted. Your liver puts clearing the toxin ahead of every other metabolic function it would otherwise be performing. That is not a side effect. That is the hierarchy your liver runs on by design. 1 gram of alcohol contains 7 calories, nearly as energy-dense as fat, but those calories carry no nutritional value at all. They cannot repair muscle, support energy storage, or contribute to any structural process in your body. Alcohol also suppresses antidiuretic hormone, which is why you urinate far more than you drink and wake up dehydrated. It disrupts REM sleep, the phase where genuine physical and mental restoration occurs, even when you feel like you slept soundly. It lowers testosterone and raises estrogen in men. It degrades the gut barrier, allowing bacterial toxins to leak into your bloodstream and trigger systemic inflammation throughout the body. Chronic consumption is linked to liver disease, multiple types of cancer including breast, liver, and colorectal, cardiovascular damage, and neurodegeneration. There is no amount of alcohol that current research considers beneficial for health. The older studies suggesting moderate red wine offered cardiovascular protection have been debunked due to fundamental design flaws. Your liver treats alcohol as a toxin. Every other process pauses until the toxin is gone. That is the biology, not the marketing. Number 1. The waxy molecule. Cholesterol is a waxy fat-like substance, and your body manufactures it on purpose because it genuinely cannot function without it. Your liver produces approximately 80% of your total cholesterol supply. It does this because cholesterol is the primary structural material for every cell membrane in your body, the starting point for producing vitamin D when sunlight hits your skin, the raw ingredient your digestive system uses to make bile acids that break down dietary fat, and the direct foundation for synthesizing testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. The remaining 20% comes from food, primarily eggs, shellfish, red meat, and full-fat dairy. Cholesterol travels through your bloodstream packaged in two main forms. LDL, commonly called bad cholesterol, carries cholesterol from your liver out to your tissues. When LDL levels rise too high, excess cholesterol deposits inside your arterial walls and builds up into plaques that narrow and harden them over time. That process is called atherosclerosis, and it meaningfully raises the risk of heart attack and stroke. HDL, commonly called good cholesterol, works in the reverse direction. It collects excess cholesterol from your tissues and artery walls and transports it back to your liver for recycling or removal. Higher HDL levels are consistently linked to lower cardiovascular risk across large population studies. Here is what most people never get told. For the majority of individuals, eating foods that are high in cholesterol has a relatively modest effect on blood cholesterol levels. Your liver actively adjusts its own production in response to how much cholesterol it receives from food, and the body compensates. What actually drives dangerously elevated LDL for most people is not the cholesterol in their food. It is sustained intake of saturated fat, trans fat, and refined carbohydrates, combined with a calorie surplus that keeps the whole system under pressure. Your body needs cholesterol to survive, to build, and to communicate. But when the ratio between LDL and HDL tips too far in the wrong direction and stays there, the molecule your body built every cell from becomes the same one quietly sealing off the arteries your heart depends on. Understanding that balance is not optional. It is one of the most consequential things you can know about your own biology.